I'm Laura.
Hi, I'm Liz, and we are
Two Grateful Stitchers.
Thanks for joining us today. I believe this is our 14th video.
Maybe?
I'll have it in the box below. Sorry about that. I was just looking at it. Well, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
It's July of 2023.
Welcome, and it's a beautiful summer day today.
It really is, yeah. We probably won't have too long of a video today. We don't have a ton to show. It's summertime in Wisconsin, so we spend all our time outside because we only get just a short little tiny summer sun. So we can start with questions from our last video. We had a couple of them. The first one was from Teresa Clark. She said she's not sure what one strand means. So for DMC floss, when you cut about maybe a 16, 18 inch piece of floss, there's 6 strands to it. If you pull that apart into the 6 individual pieces, one of those is one strand. When people talk about doing 1 over 1, they're using one of those strands over one little square
of fabric.
Yeah, and so whether it's, well, if it's Ada, it's just over Ada square.
But if it's a 30, right, and if it's a 32 count linen, well, 1 over 1 is going to be very small.
Tiny, yeah.
25 count Lugana is a little bigger, so 1 over 1 would be one piece of floss over that one square. But you could use 1 over 2, so then if you're working on a 32 count, you're actually going over 2 pieces of linen.
So for me, that's a one over, or it's, I mean, 1 strand on 16 count because I'm using Ada.
Yep.
And then on 16 count, if I do 2, it's a darker coverage. 2 strands, I mean. And then I have some projects that I am doing 1 strand over for 18, not over. That's linen language,
right.
So one strand gives you a more ghosty look on the bigger count,
Correct,
and a like more solid colored look on the
smaller count. Correct.
For Ada, for linen, it's the same or different?
Well, typically, like when I stitch on linen, 36 count is my go-to, and I use 1 strand of floss.
So that's like mine, where it's 1 over 8.
Or the 40 count, I'm using 1 strand of floss, just because 2 strands is going to make it too bulky.
Yeah.
But when I use 32 count, then I'm using 2 strands.
Yeah. So I'm doing, I'm not showing it today because I didn't make any progress on it, but I think it's my Winter Rose Manor. I'm doing 2 strands on 16 count, and that's a little less enjoyable to stitch with, but I like the coverage. It's just a darker, it'll end up being a darker project. So that's what 1 strand means. Nevada Stitcher had asked us where we bought the shaker boxes at. So I believe we were in Maine, Amana. And I had the receipt and I don't have it now. But we were in Maine, Amana. We were at the Pine Ridge Event Center, I think.
Yes.
And it was like down the street, and it was on it's called the Amana Furniture store, and I believe it's in Maine, Amana. And I think you said you were going to be there in August, so hopefully if you're just there on a random day, they'll have plenty. They stock up for the retreat, so I don't know if they carry them year round. It seemed like they did.
Right, they do stock up for the retreat. When we walked in there and you went into the store and you kind of went to the right, they had a whole section in this furniture store with, I mean, there had to have been at least 30 or more of
and they sold
different boxes. And they did. They sold out. And some of them were plain shaker boxes. Some of the shaker boxes had carve-outs in them for people who like to knit. They were yarn. They were ball holders.
You almost bought one of those.
Yeah, I did. I almost bought one. If I ever get back there again, I may. Bigger shaker boxes. More utilitarian type boxes. Some were just for decoration. I mean, they were just gorgeous.
They're just so pretty.
But if you have the receipt, you could put the address in the link.
I could, yeah, I can do that because I have. I might even be able to find like their website. If I can, I'll put that in the link below. Otherwise, I'll just list the address. I do have it on the receipt. I ran across the receipt this week, and I thought, oh, good, I can answer that question. And then I forgot to bring it with me to record. So sorry about that. But I will remedy that by putting it in the description box. And then we usually talk about Flosstube. So again, because it's summer in Wisconsin, I haven't been watching a ton of Flosstube. I have watched, I went back through my YouTube history to see what I've watched. I watch Annie Beez. We adore her and her girls. I watch So and So's with Kathy and Nancy, and now just Kathy. And that's and Vonna. Those are the three that I've watched my favorites.
Okay.
and there's plenty other that I watch when I have more time, like in the winter. In the winter in Wisconsin, we kind of cozy up and stitch a lot.
And then we can watch a lot of Flosstube.
Yeah.
That's on my retirement wish list. As soon as I get there and I've got more time, I will probably be addicted to it.
Do you have a countdown on your phone?
Yeah, but I didn't bring my phone with me. Next time I'll have to tell you how many days I
sure.
have left to my retirement because I got the countdown retirement app on my phone.
I had one and I used it until I retired and then put it on my husband's phone so he has it until he retires. So yeah, lots of fun. But we can jump right into our projects. I don't think we have any FFOs, but you have.
I have a finish, just not a fully finished.
It's impressive.
And this was my plan when we did our video in May from Amana, Iowa. And it was the kit that we got when we were on the retreat. And it's called An American Welcome. Plum Street Samplers.
Let me hold this.
And I had to do it right away. That was my plan. And I got home that weekend and I sorted everything out and I started it. And my goal was to finish by July 4th and I got it finished on July 2nd. So here it is. She's done and she's beautiful and I love it. And my husband loves it. Yeah, now I've got to get it framed. This one's going to go on a frame. It's going to go on the wall in our house.
It's beautiful.
Now I do have to share with you, and I did use, obviously it came as a kit, but I did not use the fabric that was included in the box. So the fabric, I did
I'm
not.
surprised. Okay, yeah, the fabric's still in there.
The fabric that was included, and I can share with you real quick here. This was the floss that was included in the kit, and it's all the floss that's in the pattern, and it's actually absolutely beautiful.
It is stunning.
And the fabric that came in the box was from Farm Girl Dry Goods.
Yeah.
And that's the fabric.
Was it too dark?
For what I wanted to do and where I wanted to put it in my home.
Oh, I see.
It didn't work.
I see.
I love the fabric, but I got this home and I held it up against my wall. I'm not painting my whole kitchen wall over just for, do you know what I'm saying? Just for a cross stitch.
Right.
So I had to find a piece of fabric that went with everything. And of course I asked my husband too. And he's like, yep, that one works. So
what is it?
I ended up going with this one instead. It's also a 36 count one. And I can't tell you what it is because I dyed it on my own.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. So this was a piece of linen that I just hand dyed.
I love it. You're amazing.
But I do have, I'll share with you guys too, when you get there, if you ever get to doing this, that bottom section where it says, God bless the US of A, that is 1/1.
She did tell us that.
And this is on a 36 count linen. So I had some difficulties with the black 310 floss, because that's what's called for to do that stitching. And I took out that G in God several times. And I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. And I thought about it for a while. And then I went to my sewing room and I pulled out a spool of black thread.
Like sewing thread?
Yep.
Wow, okay.
Black sewing thread. This is not like a 12 weight or type of floss or anything like that. It is common
sewing thread.
Common black sewing thread.
Because you just needed it to be that much thinner?
I needed it to be, I don't want to say thinner. Stitching floss has a tendency to be softer, fluffier, and it can fray. Sewing thread is one strand that is very, I don't know what the word would be. Sturdy. It's
durable.
It doesn't untwist.
Sure.
It can't, because even one strand of floss, if you work it with your thumb and your finger, you can turn that one strand into 3 separate strands.
Yeah, you can.
You cannot do that with sewing thread.
Okay, and that was what the problem was?
And that's,
spraying?
yes, doing the 1/1. So I used the black sewing thread and it
looks
was
amazing.
Easy.
Yeah.
You can't tell.
You wouldn't have had to tell any of us that.
No.
It would have been fine.
But I'm telling you.
But yeah, I mean, I love that you do, but yeah, if you could never tell, you'd never know.
Yeah, if you have the same issue, when you get to doing it, because it is a 36 count, try some sewing thread.
Yeah.
Why?
A nice little hack, yeah.
Why not? You didn't know.
I did not know. I didn't know at all. I thought it was 310.
It's very, very tiny. I had to use my normal, well, these are my regular prescription glasses, but the cheater readers that I was using was plus 3.5 in order to be able to see that. And then, of course, I used the glasses that we have with the light on it. just to see, because it's so tiny.
Yeah, even at the retreat, a lot of people were saying they weren't going to include that because of how they knew already that it was going to be difficult. But it looks so nice. I love the addition of it. I think I would like to include it, so I appreciate the tips and tricks. And
it just finishes it. I think it just finishes it.
It does,
so that's my tip. If you want to put that part on the bottom, and I know some people don't, and you have difficulties with the floss, just use some black sewing thread.
Yeah.
It was wonderful.
Awesome.
It worked out wonderful.
So this was in the kit we got at Farm Girl Gatherings retreat in May. And typically designers will have a pattern available about a year after a retreat, after an exclusive.
Yeah, so it eventually will come out.
It will, yeah.
It will come out. But that's
wonderful.
my finish. Yay.
And then you have a whip.
Oh, yep. And then I just have one whip. Again,
oh, I love these
not
colors.
much that I'm working on right now. I got finished with that, and Liz said, "What do you have for plans?" And I said, "I don't have any plans," because I got done with that, and I'm like, "I'm done. I'm just so done." So I pulled out one of my whips that I've had in my stash for a while, and I'm working on that.
Oh, I love
and it is called Quaker Pumpkins by Hello from Liz Matthews.
What, should I hold this?
Yeah, thank you. That's what this is. That's what the pattern looks like.
So is this on Lugana?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I love it.
So I am doing this one on a 25 count Lugana because on the regular count, it ends up being quite large. So if you do it on a 32 count, the picture is going to be 20 and a half by about 9.
Oh, okay.
A 36 count, it's 18 and an eighth by 8. I didn't do the math on this for the 25 count, but I can, and then let you know if you wanted to put it in the description box.
Sure.
I just wanted it to be smaller.
Is it over 2?
1.
Oh, it's
so it's a 25
a lot
count.
smaller.
Yeah, so that's a 25 count Lugana, and I can't tell you what the fabric is again because it's something that I hand dyed. I had a piece of, I want to say vanilla colored Lugana at home that I wasn't really going to do anything with, and I used a bunch of different dyes till I got the effect that I wanted.
It's gorgeous. You're really good at that.
So that's just a 25 count, and I'm loving it. There's not a whole lot of floss, but the colors are really pretty. They're autumn colors, which I absolutely love, and compared to the project I just finished, that was a lot of changing of colors of floss.
Yeah.
Each one of these motifs is one floss.
Oh, one overdye?
Yep, just one of these. Yep, so there's not a whole lot of thinking.
That's nice.
So I can just grab out one batch of floss and work on one motif.
Yeah.
Or work on one star. And that's what I want right now.
Yep.
After getting done with that.
Which is wonderful. It makes perfect sense, yeah.
That's why I'm working on this one right now, just because it doesn't take a whole lot of thinking, brain power. I gotta count. Counting sometimes. The other night I did a whole entire section, and I woke up the next morning and I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta frog this whole thing. I was off by one thread.
That's the worst.
One count, and I was just too tired, and I shouldn't have done it that night. I knew I was too tired, but I wanted to work on it, and instead I ended up spending 45 minutes frogging. Because frogging on 25 count is hard.
I still haven't done 1 over 1, but I can imagine that's harder than any other count, just because it's so tiny.
But I'm loving it.
Awesome.
That's it for me.
Okay, let's see. I'm still working on Liberty Lodge, so this is the pattern, if you want to hold it for me. And this is the only thing that I've shown already that I've made progress on, because like I said, I've been outside a lot. So this is where I'm at with Liberty Lodge. I finished the roof, and I'm working my way over to the other side, and this is a lot of color changes too, which is probably what caused me to put it down, I think. But I'm loving this. I love Plum Street Sampler. I just love stitching her designs, so.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's coming along.
These are, here, I'll show you. These are the colors.
Come this autumn, she'll have that completely finished, which will be perfect timing.
Yeah, well, it's for the 4th of July, but yeah, I'll have it done by then. By August, that'll be good. And then I started this. So this is Cuckoo Bird Sampler, is also kind of haul. So the Cecilia designed it with the note on the back that says, for Brenda and Laura who inspire creativity and connection in our community. So I did the exact same color and fabric, I believe, that Laura did. And I'm not done yet, but this is how far I got. So this is the color. It's blue corn. Let me take the needle off. It's blue corn. I still have it in my hoop, so. But I'm just doing the one color.
It's really pretty.
I just did It is a really pretty blue, and I love blue. So that's fun.
I like that.
And this is
It's
a
very
20
pretty.
count, and I'm doing one strand, and I really like it. I still think, I don't know what
On
I was
20
thinking.
count it works because 20 is similar to 40 count.
Right,
If you're doing it
yeah.
with linen, so you would only
So-
want one strand.
Yeah, exactly. I thought it was going to be a lot smaller. I mean, I guess it is. This is pretty small, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that's not going to be that big, but for some reason I thought 20 count was going to be
well,
teeny tiny.
and when you look at a pillow, you're thinking, oh, a pillow's going to be about this big, but not necessarily. Some of them,
Yeah.
But we always kind of jump to that conclusion.
Yes, yeah.
I think. Anyways.
I think we do too, yeah.
Mhm.
Pick up my needle here before I lose it, because that would be good.
There you go.
Add it to my pile here. So that's really all we've been working on.
Mhm.
So we can show haul.
I don't have a haul. I'm sorry. I haven't purchased anything in
You
months,
know,
and
I
I
have
am so
enough for-
proud of myself.
I have enough for both of us. So, okay, the first ones I have are these So Pretty pins. So I'll try to hold them real close. So the first one is I think they're called Homegrown Tomato. And these are from So Pretty Pins. And they sell them, I believe, exclusively through 1884 Stitchery. And they just were so adorable. And I love tomato pin cushions, which is why I bought this one, but then I couldn't pass this one up because it had the birds, and I love birds too.
So is 1884 Stitchery a shop?
It is. It's
An online
store. And I'm sorry, I'm gonna forget her name. She's famous on Instagram and across
Okay.
church circles, and you all know who I'm talking about, but I can't think of her name. I'm so sorry. I'll put it in the description box below. And the next one was I was influenced by Kathy Lounsbury, who is wonderful, and she did this and finished it recently, I think maybe 2 or 3 videos ago, and she finished it in a clock, and she had gotten the clock at Hobby Lobby, and she shared with me where she got it and what it looked like, and I couldn't find it at my Hobby Lobby. I didn't try online for Hobby Lobby, but I saw this clock at Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
And I can just pop this part out and put it in here. So I thought, it looks like it's the same size. So that'll be a project for next year. It's not going to be a new start for this year. And then I did get a couple needle minders.
You like to collect needle
I
minders.
really do, yeah. I have them all on my table that I stitch in front of, and so I can see them all the time when I'm not using them. So I got the tomato pin cushion and the quilt square. And then I got a couple other things. So this was just an Amazon purchase. So it looks like a McCall's sewing pattern, and it's just a set of 3 notebooks. And I just thought these were adorable, and even the back looks like the back of a pattern. And then
Vintage patterns.
the inside is just notebook paper that's just lined notebook paper for them. I thought that was adorable.
That's fun.
Probably give one of those to each of my daughters.
There you go.
And then this one is Heart and Hand floral etchings. And every time I saw this I think might have been a market release this year. Don't quote me on that. I'm not positive, but I feel like it was. But anyways, I just adore this. I think it's so pretty. All these big flowers.
It is pretty.
So that looks like a pretty easy pattern, but again, I won't start that until next year because I'm determined. I can do a small, so that's why I started this, because I keep one small going. So I keep doing one. That gives me something new to do. But for the big projects, I'm just kind of working my way through my list for 2023, and it's already July, and I'm not halfway done with all of it. So
Well, again, we're busy. Summertime's busy.
yeah. Hopefully, I'll get. But then I took up quilting, so I got this. This is a quilting haul, Barn Star sampler, and there's all kinds of sew-alongs I think for this. And I was telling Laura, the more I learn about quilting, the more I realize I love these stars, more than blocks. I like star blocks. So eventually I'll work on that. And then we've added into our videos things we're all into. So we did that last month. So if you want to talk about what you're into.
Oh, yeah. Well, right now, currently I'm into sewing. I needed to take a break from my stitching. So the blouse I have on today is,
It's so cute.
I made this about 3 weeks
I
ago,
love
and
it.
it was super, super easy. I had gotten the fabric, my friend Kathy's mom that had passed away
Oh yeah.
was a quilter, but she was also a seamstress.
Okay.
She did a lot of sewing, and Kathy invited me over and said, go through my mom's fabric, take what you want. And I ended up with bins and bins and bins of fabric. And there was only about a little less than 2 yards of this, and right away I knew I wanted to make myself a blouse because I just like very feminine blouses. That's just who I am.
Adorable. I
So
love it.
I found a pattern at Joann Fabrics, and I made it, and it whipped up. I think I spent 2 hours making this, from cutting it to finishing it. And then everything after that went much quicker. So of course I had to make 2 more, and I already had the fabric in the house.
Oh,
So
they're so cute.
there she is in pink. Yeah. And here we are in a fun blue,
I love it.
kind of pattern. And on this one I did bow ties, and on this one it's a button.
Oh yeah.
But these went a lot faster.
Do you know the number and the name of the
No,
pattern?
but I'll give it to you, and if you want to put it in the description box, then you
because
can
if we
add it.
get that question, at least we have it in there.
It's a super easy pattern. Like I said, the first one took me 2 hours. Each of these afterwards, maybe an hour and a half to whip up a blouse. And very light,
Then you have
comfortable in the summertime. I know, I
Very
know.
nice.
So, and it was fun. Like I said, the fabric was gifted, so I didn't spend any money on fabric. I did have to buy 1 spool of thread, and
Or floss,
the
if you
pattern
want.
at Joann Fabrics, every now and then Joann has their deals where you can get 5 patterns for $1 a piece.
Yeah.
So for $1 I got 3 blouses.
Wow.
I know.
Brand new blouses.
Correct.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You're amazing.
Yeah.
What can't you do?
Oh, I'm sure there's things out there I can't.
I don't think so. Okay, so what am I all into? So the first thing that we've been into is boating and fishing this summer. Like I said, Wisconsin summers are super short, so it's been really fun to be out on the water, taking the kids out on the tube, and then just going out by ourselves and fishing. It's just so relaxing and so enjoyable. Wisconsin is a beautiful state. It really is, and we just have lots and lots of wonderful water, and that's been a real blessing this summer. The other thing I'm into is we have been listening to this podcast called My Grandma's Diaries. And I used to listen to a lot of true crime podcasts, and once in a while I'll find a good one and I still binge listen to it. But a lot of times if I'm listening to something, it's an audiobook. But I listened to this podcast in the car with my husband because we were driving, and so it's called My Grandma's Diaries. And this gentleman found his grandma's diaries, or was gifted them from his family, I'm not quite sure. But she started the diaries when she was 10 in, I think, 1929 or 1930, and then the diaries go through her early 20s. And his friend is I think, genealogist, or not sure she's a professional genealogist, but she loves to find people. So everyone, the main character, or his grandma is, everyone she lists in her diary, she can find them, or she tries really hard to find them. And for the most part, she can be like, oh, here's what happened to her. You know, she got this job, she did this in her life, she married this person, she died at this age. You know,
That's cool.
It's just fascinating. So I'll put the link to it in the description box below if that sounds interesting to anyone. And then just, I can't remember if we talked about this last time.
Sourdough.
Sourdough.
Yeah, yep, sourdough. Yeah. So I think I did mention it. Maybe I did. I'm not sure in the last video.
About a couple months, sorry.
But it's been on my brain for a long time, and I've been trying unsuccessfully for many, many years. Even before COVID, because I know people got into the sourdough thing when they were in lockdown and they were at home and we're going to try this. And I had been trying for a long time before that, and I was just not having any success with my starters. Well, where I live, our water is highly chlorinated, and I mean really chlorinated. Like as you bring the cup to your mouth to drink, you can smell the chlorine.
Oh.
So I don't drink that
Even
anymore.
filtered?
Yes.
Oh.
The filter in our refrigerator takes a good portion of that out. So what I've been doing is taking the filtered water out of the refrigerator and putting it into a quart jar and just letting that sit on my counter.
Oh.
And over time, the chemicals are gone. And when I started making my sourdough bread now using that water, magically, guess what?
It's so much fun when it turns out.
Yeah. So I think the chemicals in the chemically treated water were just too much for the sourdough to do its thing. Too sterile because it's bacteria that makes your starter grow. It's the natural bacteria that's in your atmosphere, in your living environment, in your home, that starts the flour and water process to create itself and become active and alive. And my water couldn't do that. Yeah. So I started my starter, and I did it successfully. Every single day I would discard and then feed my starter. And after about 3 weeks, I made a loaf, and you saw it.
Yep.
I did. I posted it. I was just amazed. I was so tickled. I took the lid off the Dutch oven, and I just, I squealed, and I went upstairs, and I showed my husband, like, you're going to come downstairs and look at my bread. I finally did it. I finally did it. I finally did it. I don't have a fancy Dutch oven. I just bought a Lodge cast iron.
Mine's a Food Network.
And it works. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. It works. It's wonderful. And since then, now I've been baking a loaf every weekend. My husband loves it. We use it for our sandwich bread. And I'm also using the discard. Last week I made crackers. I used everything bagel seasoning.
Yeah.
I put in a little bit of Parmesan cheese, salt, pepper to taste. And basically it's like half sourdough, and I weigh everything out. So whatever, if I use 200 grams of sourdough, I use 200 grams of flour.
Yeah.
And
did you follow a recipe, or you just kind of made it up?
My daughter-in-law Taylor was the one who said it to me, because she brought some crackers up north, and she's these are discard. I said, are you
so
serious?
if you have the recipe, I can put it in the or link to it.
Yeah, I'll do that, and you can do whatever you want. You don't have to put any seasonings in it. You can put fresh herbs in it. You could, like I did the everything bagel seasoning, you could put in all cheese, garlic powder, onion powder, whatever you want. That
you can make so much stuff with this card.
Oh my gosh! And the trick is you got to roll them out very, very thinly. Okay. And then when you're baking them, check them about every 7-8 minutes, because they are so thin you don't want them to burn. But once they come out, they're addicting. They're delicious.
Try now.
So now I not waste, because I hate wasting the discard. Just the way I grew up, we didn't have much. You didn't waste anything, so it was just so hard every day to build a starter and then throw half this out.
Yeah, but you have to in the beginning, like that doesn't have flavor. But once you do, yeah.
So now I'm only feeding my sourdough starter. It's in the refrigerator. I feed it once a week. I make a loaf once a week, and then I'm using my discard right away to make crackers, and everybody's eating them. So
that's awesome.
That's fine.
That's so awesome.
Yeah,
I do maybe every 2 weeks. I think I've been doing a loaf, because we don't eat. We just don't eat much sour. We don't eat much bread. Period. But I follow. I think it's PantryMama.com and Amber's Kitchen on Instagram, and I had initially learned how to do sourdough from 30-Minute Foodie. And she has like a professional career, and this is like a side kind of gig for her, where Pantry Mama, her whole website is all about sourdough discard. And so I kind of moved over to Pantry Mama, but Amber's Kitchen has tons and tons of discard recipes. She has a brown butter chocolate chip cookie sourdough discard recipe. That sounds amazing. I'll try that when it gets colder here, but I don't do a ton of baking in the summertime either.
Yeah, because you got the air conditioning running, and then why are you turning on your oven?
So my husband has a big Rec Tech grill. It's a big grill, and I had said to him, I'm working really hard on my diet, and I'm diabetic, and I'm trying really hard to keep my blood sugar down, and I like grilled chicken for like salads, and I said to him, I really need to just learn how to use the grill so I can just grill my own chicken, because he doesn't need to be responsible for my food, you know. So he's like, you can use the grill whenever you want. And so I used the grill this week, and I'm like, I need a step stool. I burnt my arm opening the grill. And he's like, well, it's a man grill. Like, okay.
Come on.
I'm just short, that's all. So, yeah, that was funny. But anyways, yeah, that's kind of what we're all into this month. We can talk about plans. So I can tell you I'm in a quilting class, and I'm learning a lot. So I think the biggest thing I'm learning is to let go of perfectionism, because I know how to sew. I've been sewing since I was, in 7th grade. And it's not like I learned how to sew in 7th grade and then I stopped sewing. I've been sewing my whole life. Like, I've always sewn. And not, every day or anything, but I've always sewn. My kids have things that I made for them when they were little. Yes. I made the dress I graduated from high school in. And so I went to this class, and I'd been watching all these YouTube videos, and I was like, I can see how to do that. Like, I get how to do it. I still wasn't doing it. I was buying all this stuff, and I still wasn't sewing it, and I was just so nervous about it. And I went to the class, and the teacher did a really good job. We're all like this. She has a class of 4 ladies, and we all have been sewing our whole lives, and we're all just super nervous to cut into this expensive fabric. So she just really taught us how to cut fabric which is a really good, cool thing to learn, you know, because I had gone into one quilt store when I first decided to learn how to quilt, and I asked if they had like a jelly roll, and they were like, we don't sell them, and I was like, why not? Like, they're all over the internet. I thought all quilt stores sell jelly rolls. And she said, no, we would rather you learn how to cut fabric yourself. That's cut on a machine. It's not always a perfect cut. So now I get what that means, now that I have learned how to cut the fabric. And so I cut the quilt out, and it's for my newest grandbaby who's coming in August next month. So I cut the fabric out, and we learned how to do half square triangles, and we pieced everything together, and we squared up the blocks and everything. And then we sewed it together, and I was like super nervous that it wasn't perfect. And my quilt teacher said, quilting isn't about perfection. You have to let that go. And she said, you are a good sewer. And I was like, that, I just needed to hear those words. Like, I know how to sew, and I can let go of the perfectionism. And the other thing she said that was super helpful is she said, just keep making quilts. Don't rip them apart and put them back together. That's not how you learn to quilt. Just keep making quilts. And I was like, well, that's good, because I have a bunch of quilts to make.
And people just appreciate receiving them.
Yeah, and I did order some labels. And I was reading about labels, and I think it's Erica Arndt who talks about, you know, in her early career, she made quilts and gave them away. Like, we all want to do, we all want to give these away because we love people. We just want to, you know, wrap them up in love. She said, but man, do I wish I had a label on that quilt, because, you know, years from now, look at all the anonymous quilts that show up in places that don't have your name on it, you know, and that really touched my heart. So I did order some labels, just a couple to start, you know. I'll sew one in this one for the baby, and so they'll have my name on it, and it's like, that's super cool.
That is
you know,
cool.
We'll see where I go with that. So anyways, what are your plans?
I don't have any plans right now.
Oh, I thought you were going to keep sewing.
Just going to keep sewing, yes. I am working on a quilt from my granddaughter, and actually both of my granddaughters. So I'm working on the English paper piecing, and I think I shared that in the last video. And then I have a quilt started for the other one. So that's about it. I just want to pick that up.
And today you're getting
a sewing machine. Yes. My grandmother, my dad's mom, passed away when I was 15 years. So it was a long, long time ago. And I had reached out to my sister about a week ago and said, hey, do you still have grandma's sewing machine? My sister doesn't sew. And she said, yes, please come get it.
Awesome.
It's a sewing machine from the 1960s. It's kind of greenish in color. So as soon as we're done making this video, I'm heading down there. I've had a sewing machine, a very, very good sewing machine for the last 20 years, and it's seen its day. And I have taken it numerous times to be tuned up and repaired. And it's getting more costly to have the repairs done. And so I'm just excited to get this sewing machine to see what I can do with it. Yeah, we were talking about this. They don't make sewing machines like they used to, and people are searching the vintage market because of that. You know, even the secondhand Facebook marketplace market. Like, my mom had a sewing machine, a Brother sewing machine. Of course, Brother's still in business. They still make wonderful machines. But that machine, when I was in high school, I made a Halloween costume. I was a Care Bear. And I bought a fur coat at Goodwill and cut it apart. And that machine sewed through 2 layers of fur. Right. It wasn't bouncing off the table. I mean, it just went right through it. Didn't, you know, my sewing machine today, as nice as it is, would not do that. Right. So I'm very excited. Very excited to see. I'm sure cool. I'm sure it'll also need to be tuned up, and I'll have to try to find some presser feet and maybe replacement parts. There's probably a whole community for it. Yeah, I'm excited. That's awesome. So we did hit 1,000 subscribers. Thank you all so much for that. Thank you. And we do have a giveaway winner. I can show you what the giveaway is. We probably should pull this apart. Okay. I'll just take it all out here. So it was for this hoop. And I can't remember what these are called, and I never did look it up. No. And then this pattern. The Village of Hawk Run Hollow, the whole pattern is here. It's never been marked on. And then this is a large piece of 40 count fabric from Kitten Stitcher, and it's called 40 count Grandpa's Sleeve. And I did sew this little extra piece of fabric onto it because I had it on scroll rod. So and she started one little tiny corner up in the left. But she did say that it's something you know you're not going to do. So I'm not. I'm going to let this go, and I'm happy to give it away. And the winner. I'll try to pronounce your name right. I believe it's Misty Smeltzer. It's Mistesmeltzr. And like we've talked about before,
on YouTube. You don't want to use the word giveaway. You have to be 18 or older. And those things, I guess, we don't need to announcing the winner. But but Misty, if you could email us at twogratefulstitchers@gmail.com and let us know your address, I'll get this in the mail to you as soon as I can. And then we do have, it's unfortunate that we have to do this, but we did have a winner for this like 2 or 3 videos ago, but they never reached out to us. So unfortunately we have to re-gift it. So for this
It's a very lovely gift.
It is.
It comes with the pins.
Yeah,
right
it's
here.
the keeper of the pins is the pattern by Little House Needleworks.
Yep, and the floss as well.
Yep.
So the only thing that's not in the kit is the fabric.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so this is where you need to know. You have to be over 18.
Correct.
A subscriber, like the video, don't use the word giveaway. We can only mail it in the continental United States. So I think that's the whole disclaimer.
Right. And then what word should they use?
I think we would like it.
Things that you like to keep.
Yes. And use the word keep. We'll search KEEP. So things you like to keep. That's wonderful. And so we have been making videos every other month. So we'll probably stay on that schedule. So we'll probably be back in September.
Yes, we'll be back in September.
Yeah, August would be really hard for me since the new baby's coming in August. So yeah, I think we covered everything. This is wonderful, and we're super grateful for you guys.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for watching.